I just put Megan's YouTube channel up there. It's Third Verse. And Megan is the first cousin of the Cox family. And you spent many, I guess, summer and all kinds of holidays and things with the Cox family. And I heard you say something very interesting today, Megan. You said you're in a restaurant and you saw Lori's picture come up on a TV screen. And you said it was so hard for you to wrap your mind around the fact that you knew and were related to two serial killers. And you've had kind of a hard time dealing with that. Did I tell that correctly?
Yeah, definitely. That was an experience I haven't really thought about until, I was kind of unpacking this today. I was trying to remember when it was that I reconnected with the case because, of course, I was talking with family members about the disappearance of the children. I wasn't really listening to media, really, and until I think it was when the official announcement came out that the children were missing, and that was in December of 2019. And I remember reposting that and talking with a lot of my contacts and trying to figure out, do you know these kids? I connected with some people that I knew who lived in Hawaii, and I said, have you seen any of these people? Because I knew they had that connection. But I really, once Lori was arrested, I kind of disconnected from media at that point. When the children were found, I watched that play out in real time in media, and that was, of course, really difficult. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't mean to bring it up to get you emotional. I'm sorry.
No. It's okay. I always, it's one of those things, like, I've processed my feelings about the death of the children and everything, but it's never going to just pass without having some kind of emotional reaction. And that's perfectly okay, because it teaches me how much I care about people who have been harmed by a power differential.
Right.
Yeah. So it's never going to be okay. I've processed my grief about it, but it's never going to be okay. But anyway, I disengaged from any of the media coverage about anything until Lori's trial started, and I didn't even know she was going to trial. And that's what you probably heard today, was that I was not, I didn't keep track of what was happening with the case. Once the kids had been found and I knew what had happened, that was it for me. But then once Lori's trial started and I started seeing media coverage about that was when I reengaged, and that was kind of jarring to see that on TV after, the kids were found in 2020, and it was all the way until 2023 before Lori actually went to trial. So for that whole time, I just was, I processed my own grief about the kids and my own grief about losing family members, that, having to reassign values to family members that I previously really cared about. So it was jarring to see that come back up again and to re-engage with it at that time. And I really didn't want to. I honestly, I think once the kids were found, I processed my grief. I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to have anything to do with this anymore. But when I started seeing news reports coming up about Lori and her trial and everything, I was like, well, I guess I kind of have to follow the trial. I guess I kind of have to re-engage and figure out, what is my role going to be in this, because I did not choose it. I did not want it. But I did feel like I had a perspective on Lori that nobody else was sharing. And that's why I chose to engage with it.
And we're so glad you did, because you have been able to offer us a look inside this family, this structure of people that are just so bizarre, who grew up. The Cox family grew up in a very weird way. I mean, to them, I'm sure it was normal, but we've talked about this before. Lori had this weird relationship with Alex. And I talked with Alex's first wife, who said that's the reason why she cut off ties with Alex. They were friends, but it was just too weird. Lori would be in the back seat in his lap, and she'd be driving. It was just, creepy, weird stuff. And I think that family is very broken and damaged, and I don't think they see it.
No, they don't, and that's the hard part about it. I think what is important to note is that all of us, when we're growing up, all of us think that our family system is normal. We all think that whatever we're experiencing every day, we think is what everybody else is experiencing. And that's not the case, because we have this myopic view because we're in this family system. It's not until we go to school and we connect with other human beings that we go over to people's houses, we have dinner with other people's families. We're like, oh, this is how they do certain things. They have different traditions than we do. They do dinner different than we do. Maybe they eat different food, whatever. And for most people, if you're in a healthy family system, then when you experience other family systems, you're seeing most of the same things. You're seeing good, healthy communication. You're seeing repair after conflict. You're seeing healthy bonding activities and things like that. For me, when I went to other people's homes and saw the way that the way that my friends engaged with their parents, I was like, oh, you mean you can disagree with your parents and there's not like a huge screaming argument?
Right. And so you see other
Um,
perspectives, because you had
right.
trouble. You were hurt growing up, and you've
Yeah, I
learned to
just
deal with it.
yeah, just my parents didn't know how to have conflict in healthy ways.
Hmm.
And it's because neither did their parents, right? It's something that gets handed down sort of generationally.
Hmm.
And not to say that anybody's to blame for that, but when you realize that something's dysfunctional, hopefully you find a different way to do things.
Exactly.
Um,
Did Lori ever experiment with drugs or alcohol? I don't think she did she?
well, I mean, the family rumor is that when she was married to her first husband, that there were some drug behaviors, there were some addictive behaviors that were happening during that very brief time
Hmm.
she was with Nelson Yanes. That was her first husband.
Hmm.
And so, but I can't confirm any of that stuff because a lot of it is family stories that, it's like something shameful is going on. So we're not going to tell the real story of what's happening. We're going to give you a distilled version. So
Exactly.
I don't know that anybody but probably Barry and maybe Adam really know the full story of what happened with Nelson, but she was not married to him for very long. There was some allegations that there was some drug use in their relationship and that the two of them, Barry and Adam, went and rescued Lori from that situation. But anytime there is any kind of addiction or unhealthy relational behavior, we have to look at the causes for why, right? And when it
Exactly.
happens at such a young age, mostly the conclusion that we can come to is that there was some unmet emotional need in the younger years.
Uh, let's see. Bipolar Express has a great question. Was she promiscuous as a teen? That's a great question. Do you know?
I I can't really, well, so promiscuous is sort of a judgmental term that we apply to somebody who has multiple partners, right?
Hmm.
And I don't know that that's necessarily the case with Lori. Um, I really don't. I really can't say to speak to that specifically. What I
Hmm.
can say is that what I observed personally with her relationships with people when we were young adults, um, before I was married and before she was married to Joe or to Charles, It appeared as though she tried to seek validation through romantic relationships.
Right.
And that can be sort of an indicator that she did not receive enough validation, sense of belonging from her own parents. But again, I'm not a mental health professional. I can only comment on my own experiences. And I can say that when someone is labeled as promiscuous, a lot of times they're trying to find emotional connection through physical connection. And so I can't be judgmental of anybody who is in that place in their young 20s, because a lot of times it's an indicator of an unhealthy relationship with their parents.
Absolutely. Nobody should judge, but unfortunately, people do. We've got a lot of people here in chat from your chat. And again, your amazing YouTube channel. You spend so much time trying to help people heal, and it's at third, THIRD_verse. And that is the name of your YouTube channel. And today you went live when Lori's hearing was live. We're going to play a little bit of that hearing right now, and then we'll come back and talk about it, okay?
Yeah.
So let me pull it up here. Lori was found competent to stand trial. She wants to represent herself. She doesn't want a lawyer, and we're going to talk about that. And it makes me sick to think about Kay and Larry being up on the stand, and Lori being able to, it just makes me absolutely sick. Okay, let's see. I've got 300 million YouTube things up here. I hope I grabbed the right one. I think I did. Okay, here we go, everybody.
Morning. You're the victim of a crime with a case pending before this court. You're advised that you have rights under Arizona law that, among others, include the right to be treated with fairness, respect, and dignity, to a speedy trial, to be present at court proceedings, to choose whether or not to be interviewed.
I want to stop it here real quick. Who was in the courtroom that was a victim? Do you know, Megan?
So most of the people who were classified as victims were joining live via Zoom and not actually physically in the courtroom. So I know that Kay was on via Zoom. It's possible that Brandon was on via Zoom, and some other of the Woodcock family were on via Zoom.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense then. Okay, here we go. Continuing on.
Reviewed by the defendant or the defendant's attorney, to be heard before the court makes a decision on release, negotiation of a plea, scheduling and sentencing, and to receive restitution from a person who's convicted of causing you loss. If you have not already been provided with a written statement of all victims' rights, please contact the Victim Services Division of the Prosecutor's Office. Okay, we're ready to go on the record now in calendar number 1 and 2. This is CR 2022-001-242-001 and CR 2021-001-704-001. The matters of the state of Arizona versus Lori Vallow have appearances.
Good morning, Your Honor. Katie Staub appearing for the state.
Morning.
Good morning, our Pamela Hicks and Robert Abernathy on behalf of Miss Lori Vallow Daybell, who's present and in custody.
Thank you. Ma'am, tell me your full name and date of birth for the record.
Lori Daybell, 6/26/1973.
Thank you. All right. So last we were here, we were waiting on a second report from Dr. Hernandez. Since that time, Dr. Hernandez has been relieved. The court's appointed Dr. Webster. Dr. Webster has met with the defendant and submitted a report dated December 2nd, 2024. So we do have 2 reports. My understanding from the state is that there's some issue, though, with the redactions that were made to that report. Did you want to be heard on that, Ms. Staub?
Just briefly, I did send an email to the court and to defense counsel yesterday, just indicating upon review, the state's review of the most recent report. It seems like there were a lot of redactions made, most concerning in the opinion of the doctor. So I just wanted the court to have an opportunity to review that and assess basically whether those redactions were appropriate.
Okay. So redaction of Rule 11 reports is dictated by Rule 11.4A2. Redactions are allowed for any statements by the defendant about the charged offense or any other charged or uncharged offense or any summary of such offense. I read that to be very broad, but I don't read that to include anything outside of statements about those things. Did you wish to be heard on redactions?
No, I'm just looking, and if it's, and I did not bring my laptop, but I have my highlighted copy here. And if it says to section 4, the opinion as to competency, I had some things that I talked to my team about whether or not they were questionable, but I don't think I redacted, but the court can correct me if I'm wrong.
The state provided the court a copy of what they've received, and it does have a redaction here under the 4th section in the clinical formation on page 5 of the report. So it's that last sentence of the first paragraph there.
Oh, I think that was just because it was relating, it wasn't necessarily a statement, but the comment was relating to Idaho.
Okay. And I recognize a lot of the statements and information within Rule 11 proceedings might be concerning. There are certainly protections by law to prevent those from coming in as evidence at trial. And so rest assured that this information is not going to, unless it falls under limited exceptions, it's not going to bleed into any trial stages of the case. But from my reading of what's been redacted, I'm not sure that it falls within that rule. So how do we want to proceed?
It's that last sentence, correct?
Last sentence of the first paragraph under clinical formation.
I'm fine with just reading it.
Okay, so we can actually print out that last page and provide it to the state with
That
the
way.
defense's permission.
That's fine. Or should I just show it to her?
And I just want to be clear for the record. Your Honor has reviewed the other redactions and finds them appropriate. That was the clinical formulation was the most concerning part to the state, but because we usually don't see that extensive of redactions, I just wanted to be sure that, and that's fine if the court has made the evaluation that those are appropriate. I just want that to be clear on the record.
Ms. Hicks, do these other statements, are you wanting to lift redactions of these other statements as well based on what we've discussed this morning?
So section 3, the family and social information, those statements kind of deal with the arrest when she was arrested. So, and we're being cautious in this case, given the unique circumstances of it.
How about the other statements?
Oh, sorry. The one in the history, the victimization history, we're standing by that redaction. We wouldn't, I don't know how to phrase this, but it gave us some concern that potentially could be issues in a trial, obviously.
But how is it a statement of a charged or uncharged offense under the rule?
Again, I'm pretty new to this case. I think if I'm correct as to what happened in Idaho, there may have been, plus can we maybe approach?
You may. Okay, so to be clear, and we're back on the record, thank you. To be clear then, in terms of what the rule permits for redaction, the court is allowing redaction, as counsel indicated, in terms of some language about an arrest and extradition, but other redactions do not appear to fit underneath Rule 11.4 and so should be lifted. So the state has a chance to review that. It's just a few sentences in a brief report. And so I hope that the state can do that and we can proceed this morning to prevent any further delay. Is that something we can do?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And the state doesn't need to review all the redactions in order to stipulate. I just, for the purposes of the record and so that we have the unredacted copy, if defense counsel can get that to us as soon as possible, we can still proceed today.
All right. So with that, are the parties prepared or willing to stipulate to the 2 mental health expert reports?
So I just want to make sure I will provide a copy where we can leave in the redaction on page 2, take out the other redactions, send that to the state, and then move forward. Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. And as far as stipulating a competency, just so that the record is clear, because again, we had filed to get out of here. We're here because the court placed her placed her in Rule 11 on its own motion. That's why we didn't fill out the form and have that prepared.
Right.
We do agree that there's 2 competent reports and would like to move forward, and we just as defense don't necessarily want to technically stipulate, but we will. Does that make sense?
Not really, no.
Well,
Because there's really only 2 avenues here to proceed. You can contest that she's competent and we can have an evidentiary hearing and you can present your evidence, or the parties can stipulate to the reports which do find her competent.
let me just say this. We are willing to stipulate. It's just we want the record to be clear that we're here on the court's motion and not a defense motion. But we are stipulating the competency so we can move forward.
Right. The nothing in filling out a stipulation form would reflect that you're here on your own motion, or that you agree with being in Rule 11. So that would be how I would suggest we proceed. Is that something defense is willing to do? All right. We've got stipulation forms in front of you in that basket right there. And so you can fill that out. The state's agreeing to stipulate to the reports.
That's correct.
Okay. The court is not yet in receipt, but will be in receipt of a stipulation as to the defendant's competency based on the written reports here by Dr. McGady, dated November 7th, 2024. Dr. Webster, dated December 2nd, 2024. Stipulation having been accepted, the reports having been considered, court finds the defendant understands the proceedings, is able to assist counsel in her defense. The court further finds the defendant competent pursuant to statute. It is ordered affirming prior release conditions, and we'll get you a new date in front of Judge Boreski so you can proceed in your case. Judge Boreski indicated he can get you in tomorrow at the earliest at 8:30 or 9 a.m. Does that work for counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'm remanding this matter to Judge Boreski's division. We'll set it as a status conference tomorrow. That's December 6th at 8:30 a.m. Anything further?
Oh, yeah.
Not. Oh, sorry.
Your Honor, can we just have a moment to make sure that that works for the victims and
Oh,
next division?
absolutely. Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
Okay, and I don't think anything happened after that.
No, after that, they just basically said that worked for the victims. They had already scheduled the conference, and so that was pretty much it after that.
Okay, great. So what's going to happen tomorrow? Are they going to go back to court for what?
Yeah. So tomorrow is a status conference in
Mhm.
Judge Boreski's courtroom. Judge Boreski is the one who's presiding over Lori's trial.
This was a different judge, and a lot of people in chat were commenting on it. Yeah,
Yes.
it's just for this particular hearing, they had a different judge, and it's going back to the original judge.
So this judge today is the judge who oversees the competency hearings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually a commissioner. So he's the one who oversees the Rule 11 hearings. Judge Boreski is the one who's presiding over Lori's trial. So
Got it.
tomorrow morning, it will go back to Judge Boreski's courtroom,
Mm-hmm.
where he will have seen the competency reports. He will have seen that the 2 experts agree that Lori's competent to stand trial. And Judge Boreski will make a ruling about whether or not Lori can represent herself at trial. And he will also make a ruling about when that trial is going to be. I previously reported that the February date was vacated, but
Mm-hmm.
when I looked last night on the court's website, it's still scheduled for February 25th to begin at 8 a.m. So I don't know if they've reserved those dates already, but that will all be clarified tomorrow morning at the hearing.
Right. And if he does let her, excuse me, you're not boring. It's me. I haven't had my coffee today.
It's okay.
If he does say yes, she can represent herself. Do you think? I mean, you're not a lawyer, but you're smarter than any lawyer I've talked to. So, I mean, do you think he'll say, yeah, you can have more time? Or if I were him, I'd be like, hey, if you want to represent yourself, here's the date. Get your butt in gear and represent yourself.
Well, what I hope is that even though, so when the Rule 11 proceedings went into effect, there was
Mhm.
some worry that it might take longer than normal to get her to competency.
Mhm.
because she was found incompetent in Idaho. It took 10 months to get her restored. So
Right.
they vacated that original trial date. According to the court website, though, it's still there. So what I'm hoping is what Judge Boreski will say is that now that you've been found competent, let's go ahead with that original February 25th date. Lori does not need time to prepare for this trial. She knows all the facts of the case.
Mm-hmm.
She might need time to prepare like an alternate version of reality.
Yes.
But I think she already has that alternate version of reality kind of in her mind. So I don't think she needs extra time to prepare. I don't know that Judge Boreski would grant her extra time to prepare. And given the fact that she has not waived her right for a speedy trial, we want this trial to go ahead as quickly as possible, right? We want this to be
Right.
over with. We want to get it done. We want justice for Charles. We want to move on.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the hope for me personally is that Judge Boreski tomorrow will say, okay, fine. You want to represent yourself? Fine. We're going to trial on February 25th. That's
Yeah.
my hope.
And I hope so too. And I don't know why he wouldn't, but of course we don't know everything that's going on.
Yeah.
But it's such a, to me, it's just obscene that she can put Kay Woodcock up there and cross-examine her, and she's going to try and get in all kinds of ugly crap. This is going to be the biggest clown show ever.
Yeah. It's incredibly troubling. I don't think that there is any legal basis for Judge Boreski to deny her the right to represent herself. Again, I'm not an attorney, and I don't know what the Arizona law is. But I don't think that there's a legal basis for the judge to deny her the right to represent herself. I just don't think that there is. So
and you're probably right.
That being said, it's going to be horrible. I mean, it's not in her best interest for her to represent herself. She's not. Okay, so she was deemed competent today. That just means that she's competent to stand trial. That means she understands this. She understands the charges against her and she can participate in her own defense. It does not mean that she's not delusional. It does not mean that she's mentally healthy. It does not mean that she's intellectually competent. It does not mean that she understands the law and the legal procedure to do this. So no, it's going to be terrible if she represents herself. And like you were saying, the fact that she would be allowed to question the people that she has victimized is awful to me. It's the most horrible thing that I can think of. But I don't think
she's going to do.
But I don't think there's a legal basis for the judge to deny her that right.
Boy, and you have to wonder, I just picture her starting out talking about how Jesus came to her and, God came to her and said this, and has God ever come to you? And, God doesn't come to you, does he? Well, he came to me. And, I mean, I can just hear the crazy coming out of her, and it's going to move at a snail's pace. And I don't know. I wonder, I'm just thinking out loud here, if she proves to be such a cluster, that the judge says you can't represent yourself because you can't do this. You can't put one foot in front of the other. I wonder if he can do that. I would hope so. So. Evil Alaska wants to know, and other people have asked this, why is Lori's hair covered in grease? I didn't notice it. It just looked really dark to me. Was it greasy?
I mean, she's in prison. She has limited resources. She can only make herself, she can only make herself up so much with what's available at the commissary. Honestly, I commented a little bit on the fact that her blonde streak is kind of back, but who cares? At this point, the thing that bothers me the most is that if Lori represents herself, she's going to be questioning the people that she has victimized. She's going to be putting out a narrative that she's innocent, that Alex was to blame, that I don't know, whatever it is, it's going to be nuts. And the problem that I have with it is that it takes away from getting justice for Charles. At least in her first trial, her lawyers had the decorum to not make a circus of it.
Decorum.
They
That's
didn't really put on a defense. She
Mhm.
didn't testify. There was no point at which it became crazy making. It was just, let's present the facts of the case and let the jury make a decision.
right.
If she represents herself, it's going to be the Lori show, and she's going to try to make it however she wants it to be.
Right.
Like you alluded to her opening statements of, what that's going to look like. It's going to look more like her allocution statement, where she's going to try to convince the jury that she's an exalted being, etc. I don't want to hear any of that. Nobody
No.
wants to hear any of that. What we want to hear is the facts of the case, who is involved, who is culpable,
Mhm.
and how she was able to pull this off and get away with it and go on, to then murder her own children.
Right.
That's what we want to hear. But if she represents herself, that's not how it's going to go down. It's going to be, I can't even, I don't know. I can't even formulate the words.
It's just going to be, as we say in Utah, I grew up swearing Utahese. It will be a cluster flip, is how we would say it in
Yes,
Utah.
it will be fudging terrible.
It will
That's
be,
what we used to say.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Cosmically Forsaken, is the death penalty on the table for Lori? It is not, correct?
That's correct.
Right.
This is a conspiracy to commit murder trial. It's not
Mhm.
first-degree murder for her, and so there's no death penalty on the table for her. However, she's already been convicted in Idaho. She's going to serve 3 consecutive sentences there. Likely what will happen if she is convicted in Arizona, she'll go back to Idaho anyway to serve
Mhm.
those sentences before
Right.
she even has to serve anything in Arizona.
Exactly.
And also after Charles's trial is Brandon's trial as well.
Oh,
So
that's right. Oh my God, I forgot. And he deserves a trial too.
exactly,
He was
yes.
almost murdered, and he
He-
deserves that.
He's lucky to be
Absolutely.
alive. Yes.
Really, Alex was a bad shot. He messed that
was-
up, and he messed Tammy up. Thank God.
He was the most incompetent hitman in the history of hitmen, and the only time he was ever successful is when he had help from other people.
Exactly right. And Kelly J brings up an interesting point. It would be interesting to see Lori question Melanie, but Melanie Gibb has to be connected to this case. She just can't call anybody she wants. And I don't know if Melanie is connected to this
Well,
case.
she is, because you have to remember, Melanie Boudreau, Melanie Gibb, and Zulema were all involved in the castings that were happening
Oh, that's right.
prior
That's
to
right. You're
Charles's
right.
death.
You're right.
So they were all involved. And then
Mhm.
also, I just want to point out as well, Summer, Janice,
Summer.
Barry, Adam, all of the Cox family members
Mhm.
were involved in this because they were all knowledgeable about the divorce proceedings between
Yes.
Charles and Lori that were happening. Lori told them not to talk to Charles because Charles was having an affair.
Mhm.
Lori and Alex went to Janice and Barry's house after going to the police station that night. So they were all involved in whatever communication was happening prior to and after Charles's death. So my
Right.
hope is that Janice and Barry and Summer and Adam are all going to be called to the stand, and that we're going to find out exactly what was happening in that family when this went down.
And again, Lori would do that to her family. She doesn't care,
She does not
because
care.
she wants them to, she thinks and who knows if they're still on her side or not. I have no idea if her mother claims not to be, and, Summer is, claiming not to be, but we're going to find out some things, I think, that are going to be very troubling when it comes to this family. It's going to be very shocking. Do you agree?
I think that, so I understand Summer's position, where she kind of, the last communication that we know of that she had with Lori was that jailhouse call that came out during Lori's trial.
Right.
So I don't know that she is necessarily very friendly with Lori, but I know her mother is communicating with her. And
Mhm.
they don't really talk about the case, but I mean, I just want to know. I just want to know what each family member's role was. I want to know the truth. I want to know what happened. I want to know who manipulated what text message communication, all of that stuff. I just want to know the truth. That's all.
Exactly. And the victims' families, you know, Kay and Kresha and Larry, and they all deserve to know the truth. And all of Charles's family, they deserve to know the truth. Bayou B says, can Lori call whatever witness she wants? I don't think so.
Well, I'm not an attorney.
Right.
I don't know. However, I think if she can present a compelling reason for calling I think she can call whoever she wants as a witness. The only thing that can happen is if she calls a witness and she begins the questioning, the prosecution can object and say, why is this witness here? This isn't
Okay,
relevant to the
right.
case, right?
Good point. Good point. Yes.
But she can call whomever she wants. And when the prosecution calls someone, Lori can ask them whatever question she wants.
Mhm.
That's why I think it's going to be so horrific, because Lori doesn't know court procedure. She doesn't know what she is and is not allowed to ask. There's going to be a ton of objections. If you thought that John Pryor's objections were annoying,
Oh
wait
my God.
until Lori starts questioning people, not knowing what she's allowed to ask.
Right.
And it's going to drag things on forever. It's just mind
Well,
blowing.
and she's like everybody's saying in chat, she's going to crucify Charles. You know, I could see her getting Kay up there and asking something horrible like, well, how many times did Charles beat you up? You know, I mean, you can just see that happening, because she is a monster. This woman is a monster for what she did for her kids in the name of religion. It
wasn't even in the name of religion. Let's be clear. The only thing, the religion was a vehicle for Lori to get what she wanted.
You're right.
It
Absolutely.
could have been religion. It could have been vitamins. It could have been an MLM. It could have been anything. Like, it did not matter. What Lori wanted and needed was recognition, respect. She wanted accolades. She wanted belonging. She wanted to feel special.
Right.
Period. So it could have come in any form. It came in this particular form.
Mhm.
And so all day long, we can talk about religion. We can talk about the contributions of the Mormon Church. We can talk about the contributions of her family of origin. The
Mhm.
bottom line is, she did not get what she needed as a young person. When we're children, all of us need attachment to our parents. We need love and belonging from our parents. We need acceptance. She did not get that.
Right.
And rather than healing those wounds, those emotional wounds,
Mhm.
she became those emotional wounds. She became the shadow. And therefore, she perpetrated her needs onto her children and onto Charles. She told everybody, don't talk to Charles. He cheated on me, blah, 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 whatever. Listen to my narrative. When Charles tried to speak up, she silenced him.
Mhm.
She told the family not to talk to him, to believe her only. And whenever somebody says to me, don't talk to so-and-so, the first thing I'm going to go and do is talk to that person,
And say,
because
what can you
I want
tell
to
me?
hear. Yes, I want to
Right.
hear both sides of the story. So, you know, the bottom line is that Lori did not get her needs met. She did not get the type of nurturing that a child needs, and she went and sought it from other sources.
Mhm.
She became the darkness that all of us have this in us. We all have these traits within us, but most of us, what we do is we say, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous of that person. That's probably not really healthy. What I
Right.
should do instead is figure out why I'm jealous of that person
Mhm.
and try to get that need fulfilled in some other way. And instead, what Lori did was she buried that, she stifled it, she put it aside, and eventually that darkness overtook her. So, not to get too, psychological about all of this stuff, but the reason we are where we are is because we're trying to understand, how do you get here? How does a mother get to the point where she's okay with unaliving her children, where she's
Right.
okay with going to any length to try and get what she wants? And the bottom line is, she wanted to be seen as powerful. She wanted to be seen as spiritually elevated,
Mm-hmm.
and she wanted to be alone with a person that she revered as a spiritual, I don't know, what do you want to call Chad? A prophet, whatever.
Well, yeah, but he's the idiot that called her a goddess, and that's what
Yeah.
she wanted. You know?
Exactly. He
So,
gave her what she wanted. She gave him what he wanted. And
Mhm.
together they just decided to do whatever it took to get what they wanted. And what they wanted was to be alone on a beach in Hawaii. And they had that for a couple of months. Good for them. Wonderful. Now they're both in prison. And they're both going to claim that the reason that they're in prison is because they're being persecuted,
Mhm.
and that at some point Jesus is going to come and everybody's
Fix
going to know that
everything.
they were right.
Right. Right.
They really have deluded themselves to believe that this is all part of the plan,
Mhm.
and
Exactly.
that they're still going to get what they want.
And it will never happen. I mean, worse and worse things keep happening to them. And Lori still keeps believing. I'll never forget those tapes of those phone calls where she's like, well, did you text him, and ask him why? And when's the good stuff going to happen? And, there was only supposed to be a 3% chance of something bad happening or something ridiculous like that, and it's like, now Chad's on death row. And she's lost her life to prison. It's like, can you get any worse for them? And they still have deluded themselves that somehow Jesus is going to come down and fix it all for them. It is
Yes.
so amazing to me.
The sad part is that I think absolutely 100% both Chad and Lori believe that Jesus is going to come really soon,
Mhm.
and he's going to confirm that Chad and Lori were part of the gathering and they've done everything that they were supposed to do.
They were supposed to, kill the kids and kill his wife because, that's what a good religion does. It just makes me so angry. I can't even. Well, and this is going to be broadcast live. And like our friend Lauren from Hidden True Crime said, Justin Lum from Fox 10 really fought hard to get the cameras in the courtroom. So we
Yeah.
owe him a debt of gratitude. He's a
Yeah.
good guy. So I'm glad that we're going to be able to see this. And I think people should see it, to see what a spectacle she is and what happens when you allow people like her to represent themselves. I just, I don't know. I don't know if Kresha is going to be called. I'm sure Kay will be called because that has to do with the life insurance policy and all of that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she'll be called by the prosecution, but Lori gets to cross-examine them,
Yes. And that's the sad part. And I don't know. I have so many conflicting feelings all the time because I guess I'm an empath, and that's what happens when you're an empath.
Right.
But I believe in victims' rights, of course. I also believe that the person who's accused has rights, and so it's hard for me to say no. You should never be allowed to represent yourself. Well, that's a right. You have the right to do that.
You absolutely.
We saw Ted Bundy do that.
Right.
He got to question his victims, and it was horrible to watch. It was horrible.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Lori now, I guarantee you that what she's thinking is, well, I've been through a trial in Idaho. I went through all of that. I can do a better job than my attorneys did. I know I'm smarter. I know
You're
better.
right. Exactly.
I guarantee you that's what she's thinking. But obviously, I think it's going to make it much less of a respectful process, much less of justice for Charles than it is for the Lori show. And what I was saying on my channel earlier this morning is that Lori knows this is her last chance to be in the spotlight.
Yes.
She knows that once, whether she gets convicted or not here, honestly doesn't matter. It doesn't matter except for justice for Charles, right? We want that. We want justice for Charles. We want justice for Brandon. But even if she is not convicted, even if she doesn't receive any additional jail time, whatever at the end of this trial, what's going to happen is that she's going to go back to prison and have no more media coverage.
It'll be
She could
over.
possibly appeal, she could possibly whatever, all of that stuff. Even if those hearings are televised, it's like her case is gonna take a backseat to whatever the next true crime thing is.
Absolutely
And
right.
I know that she is terrified of being forgotten. She's terrified of being marginalized. She's terrified of going to prison and being nobody else is gonna pay attention to her.
Nope.
And I
Yeah.
know that when she was arrested and COVID was happening, there was this comment that she said where she was loving the fact that she was a bigger deal than COVID, that her court case was getting more attention than a global pandemic. So that's what she wants, that's what she cares about. And she knows this is kind of like the last chance for her to be recognized. So she's taking advantage of that. I think that's why she wants to represent herself, because
Mhm.
it will be the Lori show. She will get to say pretty much whatever she wants.
Yes.
She'll get to ask whatever questions she wants. And even though there will be, of course, objections from the prosecution, there will be an attorney sitting there to help her with procedural things.
Mhm.
She still is going to say crazy things. She's going to do crazy things. It's going to turn it into a nightmare for all of the victims and the family members. And she knows that. And that's what she wants.
I mean, she's going to do it to her own family. You know, she'll
Yep.
cross-examine Summer. And like we've talked about in the past, there's some really uncomfortable things that are going to come out. I mean, you know, the bizarre text that came out that I just feel like Summer knew more than what she has admitted, and that may come out
Yeah.
in court. You know,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. That's if I'm looking forward to anything, it's getting the truth out. You know,
Yes. And that's what I care about as well. And I think that's what most people care about who are following
Mhm.
this. Yes, it's going to look bad for some people. And
Yes, it
that's
is.
unfortunate, but I want to know the truth. I want to know who did what. I want to
Mhm.
know who helped facilitate this whole thing, because what is very apparent and evident to me is that the narrative that Alex acted in self-defense was more important than anything else,
Mhm.
and that people were willing to do whatever it took to make sure that that narrative was the one that prevailed.
Exactly.
And I want to know who was complicit in that, because that reveals who you really are as a human
Mhm.
being. And I
Exactly.
think that's what's most important.
And I think we're going to find out. And I think there are going to be people that are going to feel very uncomfortable. And Lori
Yeah.
doesn't care. And she will reveal the people that helped her, because she's going to say these people know the truth. They know that, that Charles was abusing me, and that, I speak to Jesus. I mean, it's, just,
Well, she's going to put forth the narrative that paints her in the best light, no matter what it does to anybody else. So she's going to
absolutely.
perpetuate that narrative that Charles was having an affair, and
Yes.
whatever lies that she told her family, those are the things she's going to try to reinforce. But what I'm hoping is that the evidence is going to come out and show how she manipulated the situation.
Exactly. And Laura Thomas asks a great question. Will this bring out some people that we don't know about yet? Very easily could.
Yeah, what I've always wanted to understand is that in the Idaho trial, they said conspirators known and unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And while we know a lot of the names, in this case, we know a lot of the people who were super close in that inner circle of Chad and Lori, I think there are probably some people that we don't know about yet. And if there are people who were complicit in harming children or harming, Charles or Tammy or Brandon, I hope that those names will be revealed and that those people will be prosecuted, because the entire reason that we're here in the first place is because Lori and Alex were not held accountable for their behavior throughout their entire life.
That's right.
Alex did serve time for tasing Joe Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
but was he really held accountable? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. In my opinion, I say no. because even though he served jail time, the family narrative was, oh, crazy Alex. He was just trying to protect Lori. He was just,
Protecting Lori and the
he,
kids. Yeah.
but here's the thing. Lori told him a story. He believed it. And
Mhm.
then he went and acted as a vigilante to go and take care of that and find justice for what, like, it's one of those people that's like a hothead who's like, oh, well, God forbid somebody does something to my sister, I'm going to take you out. That's
Right.
not how you handle that.
No.
So even though he served prison time for that, was he held accountable? No, it was swept under the rug.
Hmm?
It was pretended like that was a normal thing for somebody to do to protect their sister.
Yes.
And that's why he was allowed to continue that type of behavior. And that's why we're here in the first place.
Exactly. He was not held accountable, and he just got more and more brazen in what he did, and he still wasn't held accountable, just like Lori wasn't. And the
Yep.
family all believed them and supported them and gave them the rah-rah cheerleader thing. And this is what happens. This is what happens. You raise two serial killers in one family. Megan, can you hang on for just a moment?
Yeah,
Because I want to tell everybody about the wonderful, amazing people at DNAsolves.com. Now, you notice that you don't hear me like doing that annoying begging for money thing like I used to do. Oh, God, it annoyed me. I can only imagine how it felt to you. Well, that's because we have a great partner now. And Othram has partnered with websleuths, and part of Othram is the wonderful people at DNAsolves.com. You can see right here what they do. Scientists and researchers work 24/7 trying to identify these remains. Some of them have been there for decades. And can you imagine not knowing where your loved one is? Well, the wonderful people at DNAsolves.com, they work hard so that these families can get that phone call and say, we have found your loved one. But they need your help, my darling true crime angels, because, here's the thing. A simple DNA test is $7,500. That's just one, and that's just the beginning. So if you could subscribe to DNAsolves.com and make a monthly donation, 5, 10, 15, 20 a month, anything would help. I put the link in chat. It's also pinned to the top of chat. And thank you, everybody. I know a lot of you have subscribed to DNAsolves.com, and it is really making a difference. So, okay, Megan, what do you have coming up on your live stream?
Well, tomorrow for sure, I'm going to be talking about the hearing. There's a status conference with Judge Boreski tomorrow morning, and that's where he is going to determine whether or not Lori can represent herself. So if it's live streamed, I'm going to live stream it from my channel. If it's not, I'm going to do what I did this morning, which is I will read Justin Lum's live tweets from the trial, and then we'll play the conference as soon as it's available. I also have a commitment with Surviving the Survivor, which is an excellent channel that you guys should all check out. I love Joel and the COE. They're wonderful people. But it's just, I will be out here on the internet at some point.
Well, we will
talking about that basically all day.
Absolutely.
I also have a brand new channel that I'm promoting, because I think maybe Insightful One has talked to you about this. I've done a lot of research about YouTube and how YouTube works.
Yes.
And I think that the algorithm has been confused by my channel because I talk about so many different things. What the algorithm likes is when you're consistent and talking about the same thing over and over, like your channel does, of course. And you're, promoting Othram, and I love that so much. So my channel is kind of all over the place. So I'm starting a new channel because I want to be more cohesive about what I talk about. And the common thread that runs through all 3 or 4 of the topics that I cover is this idea that everybody has a shadow side. Everybody has traits and characteristics that we don't like about ourselves, that are not the most appealing. If we don't address those behaviors and learn to love ourselves for all of the parts of ourselves, then we become that shadow. And that's, I think, what happened to Lori. The inability to integrate the dark and light parts of ourselves, the inability to say, okay, there's a warrior princess part of me that wants to burn everything to the ground. What I
Mhm.
have to say is, thank you so much for showing up, for defending me, but let's put this in a healthy perspective, right? So the new channel is called Shadow Side Stories, and it's really about the idea that we all have to learn to love these parts of ourselves. And the true crime aspect of it is pointing out, like learning to identify these unhealthy behaviors and
Mhm.
pointing out how they go wrong. So,
But
coming at the true crime perspective from trying, like I've done with Lori's case, trying to understand how we got here in the first place, trying to understand what happened to Lori so that
yes.
we can identify these circumstances in our own lives
Mhm.
and try to approach it from a healthier standpoint. So I have an e-course coming out where I'm addressing how to identify manipulative behaviors and how to defend yourself against manipulators and how to deal with that. So it's called Shadow Side Stories.
Is it up on YouTube now? Can I link to
It's
it?
it's up on YouTube. There's nothing on there right now.
Okay.
Because I'm working on the first few videos, but I'll put it in a comment right now. That's the channel. You can go
Oh,
subscribe to it
perfect.
right now. And
Perfect.
then I'm going to start posting episodes on there within the next couple of weeks.
Wonderful. Well, we'll put that in the description as well. And as usual, Megan, you have been such an incredible guest and give us all great information. Now, I thought I heard the judge say tomorrow that it was going to be at 8:30. Now, that is that Pacific time or
So
is that
8:30, it's 8:30 Phoenix time.
right?
So it'll be 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time.
Okay,
Everybody else
so
is on their own.
right.
Figure
Yeah,
it out.
if you're in another country, you got to
We
figure
do
it
all
out.
that math.
Arizona just freaks me out because they don't do daylight savings,
They
so it's
don't
all
do daylight
yeah,
savings, but now that we have fallen back,
right. We're all
it's back to sort of normal. So
to normal.
Arizona time is the same as Mountain time now.
Okay, great, great. So that'll be 8:30 Mountain time, and you're going to be live then,
Yeah,
probably.
so well, what I'm going to do is I will be ready to be live when it
Hmm.
goes live. If it's being live streamed from Judge Boreski's courtroom, I will live stream it on my channel. What happened this morning is that it wasn't live streamed. So what has been happening is that they're allowing cameras in the courtroom, but they're not allowing a live stream.
Right.
So what I did this morning is I read back the live tweets from Justin, who is live in the courtroom, and then when they published the video, then I went live with that. So
Perfect.
if
Probably
they're
that's what happened tomorrow, maybe.
if it's allowed to be live streamed, I will be live streaming it. If not, we'll just do it the other way a little bit later than normal.
Great, and that's going to be on your YouTube channel called @third THIRD_verse.
Yes,
Okay,
that's right.
and we'll put the link up to your new channel, and everybody join it. We'll put that in the description so we can
Thank
remind
you.
you. Megan,
Appreciate it.
thank you so much for everything, my dear.
Of
And
course.
we're here. Anything you need, you just let us know, okay?
Yes, thank you so much for having me back. I love your people. I love
Oh,
being here.
we love you. You can come on any day, every day. We'd love it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Yeah,
We'll
take
see.
care.
Bye-bye. You just, gosh, what a nice surprise. She offered to come on. You know, I was going to ask her, and I thought, oh, God, I hate bugging her. She was on live for a zillion hours today, and then she offered. I'm like, yeah, sorry, I got to put some lip gloss on, guys. Anyway, okay. Insightful One is still sick, you guys. She has the flu. Get your vaccination. Don't get the flippin' flu, okay? Vaccination may not prevent the flu, but it will probably make it a lot less, you know. I'm not sure how the flu vaccinations, but I get one every year. So I've got mine. I'm going to go in for my COVID vaccination this weekend. So, you know, I'll let you know if I start growing a third eyeball on my shoulder or something. I won't. I am COVID vaccinated to the top of my head. I've had them all. Got my eye drops here, everybody. But we got to talk about what happened, what we found out today about the CEO. I'm going to play a video. Let me see if I can find it because I have 3 billion videos up here. Oh, we don't have time to play that one. Don't have time to play that one. Oh, shoot. Did I not put up another one? Hold on. Ah, this is the one I want to put up. This is Fox 5 from New York City. It's about 2.5 minutes long. And then I'm going to tell you some more stuff about what has been found out. And maybe we've got new information now since we started this live stream. I don't know. But hang on here. Let me just put this up here. And this will give us the latest. So here we go.
Also trying to figure out the motive for the killing.
All right, Fox 5's Teresa Priolo live in the newsroom with that part of the story. Teresa.
Yes, Steve and Natasha. So the really big question tonight is why? Why did this masked man ambush Brian Thompson outside of the Hilton in Midtown? And really, was there any sort of warning that he was in danger? Police in Minnesota are actively investigating past threats and one swatting hoax that was actually made against Thompson's residence late last night. Now, we have been talking to police in Minnesota in Maple Grove, and they have been dealing with a number of incidents involving the Thompson residence, one of which happens to be a swatting hoax, a bomb threat that was called in to the residence. As we understand it, initially, that threat was made through the city attorney. The city attorney alerted police. Because of the news that broke yesterday with Thompson being murdered in New York City, they sent police and a bomb squad over to the house, and all was clear. But these are the kinds of things that the Thompson family is dealing with in the wake of Brian Thompson's murder yesterday. Just to put this all into perspective, according to police, they alerted Paulette Thompson around 8 a.m. yesterday morning, and that bomb threat was called in around 7 o'clock last night when she was at home consoling her family, talking to her sons, and just really attempting to make sense of all of the different details that occurred yesterday. We are also told that that is not the only threat that they have dealt with there. Take a listen. And so what we understand is, in addition to that hoax, they've also been dealing with other reports. Yesterday we reported, and we're getting a little bit more information today, that Paulette Thompson said her husband mentioned that he had been receiving threats. Of what kind, she wasn't sure, but she said it had something to do with possible lack of coverage. She said he didn't really elaborate, but that was on top of her mind yesterday as well. We do know that the CEO was not traveling with any sort of security detail. And so, again, we're continuing to following the details, not only here in New York City, but also those in Maple Grove, Minnesota. Natasha, we'll send things back to you.
All right.
Okay, I thought that had the story about what was on the casings, the shell casings. There were 3 words. It was deny, hold on one second, deny, defend, and depose. And that is actually the name of a book about insurance companies and how they mess you over. And I did have that book up. Let me go. I had it on, I know where I had it. I had it on Amazon, and I emailed the link to myself. Hang on. Let me find it. Is that it? No, that's not it. Hang on. Oh, here it is. Okay. Here it is. I want to put this up here. Let me share this with you real quick. Here we go. Okay. Those 3 words that were on those shell casings: delay, deny, defend. Why insurance companies don't pay claims and what you can do about it. All right. I think we're seeing a motive here. I think it's really obvious what the motive is. Now, that CEO, let me get the, hang on here. Wait. Just a second. Where is it here? Anyway, the CEO of United Healthcare, he was under investigation for insider trading. Apparently, in the New York Times, there's an article about a scathing report put out by a Senate subcommittee about this insurance company and just how crappy they were. Other insurance companies too. But get this. Now, This is a statistic that I heard on the news, and I haven't had a chance to verify it, but I'm going to repeat it to you. Insurance companies deny about 16% of the what they get. People saying pay my bill, and they deny about 16%. United Healthcare denied over 31%. That's 3 times. I mean, that's a third of all their claims they denied. They absolutely denied. Now, having said all that, no excuse for this murder. Absolutely none. It doesn't make it okay, but if you have gone on the internet, people are so cruel, okay? I get it. I've had insurance claims denied that affected me. I had to wait until my gallbladder was life-threatening before they would remove it, and they told me that. But you just can't handle it this way, people. You just can't. You can't go out there and shoot this guy. He was already in trouble anyway, and I just. Let's see. I'm just reading your chats here. Oh, yeah, there you go. The other definition for depose is to remove from office suddenly and forcefully. And that's what he did. Now, they're saying he was not a professional. He used a silencer, but that doesn't mean he's a professional. I saw one headline and then it disappeared. So I don't know if it was true, but it said that they had found fingerprints. Have you guys read that anywhere? I don't know, red like wine again. And let me stress, he was being investigated. He had not been convicted of anything, okay? Nothing. He had not been convicted. He was being investigated. So, but when I heard that statistic about United Healthcare denying 31% of their claims, a little bit over 31, that's a third of the claims. And that when the average is like 16%. You're gonna have a lot of mad people, but the killer is being made to be out like a hero, and I know the frustration with insurance. I live it. I know it. I get it. We all live it with insurance, but this can't. You just can't do this. You can't turn a murderer into a hero. You just can't. Okay, are these the old eye drops? Yeah. I don't know. You know what? Let me get a video up here. Another video really quick that I want to play for you. Hang on. Let's see here. Well, no, that's not the one I wanted. Hang on. This is from News Nation. Cuomo. How do you pronounce that guy's name? His brother's was governor of New York. Anyway, Brian Thompson was the CEO. I want to play this here. It says former bodyguard of slain CEO. He should have had security, and he did not. So let me play this for you real quickly, then we'll come back and talk some more, okay? Hang on here. Just a minute. Let me get this. Let me do this. Share screen. Cuomo, that's how it is. I don't know why I couldn't pronounce it. Okay, here we go.
If they had threats that were serious in the past, why would he have been alone?
You know what? That's the big question that we've been asking ourselves for the last 36 hours. I deal with a lot of corporate executives, as you probably know, around the United States of America. And I can tell you all the way from the Big Five in New York, all the way to Los Angeles to the Big Four over there. I can guarantee you that there's not one of them that I know that does not have personal protection around them. I do not know why he went over there and to especially to New York City. And that's nothing about New York. Love New York, family from New York. I know a lot of people up there, but I do not understand. There is no reason in this God's green earth that he should not have had security around him. He was going into an open meeting with stockholders from around the United States. There's no reason for him to be by himself, especially running a multi-billion-dollar corporation that is currently under attack, apparently by some stockholders, and currently under attack by some folks that got some claims denied. And even his wife came out and said, yeah, he was in trouble. There were people that were threatening his life. I do not understand it. Maybe he had that charismatic position in his mind that, oh, nobody recognizes me and I can get from point A to point B safely. Maybe that was in his mind. Or the second choice is that, that would be the personal decision, but maybe it was a corporate decision not to give him personal security, which I think would be maybe one of the biggest faux pas in the security world that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Now, wouldn't that be something if they said it's just too pricey to give you personal security? I doubt it. Because again, and I have not had a chance to check these figures out, so forgive me, but I was listening to one news report and they said that United Healthcare made over $200 billion in profit. So I can't imagine they would say, no, we can't afford to do that. Anyway, that is Chris Cuomo's show, and I'll put a link to that in our description. So, yeah, he could have, you're right, Glitter. He could have bought his own security, but he wasn't famous. We didn't know who he was. We had no idea. And, and the thing is, I'm sure he was used to getting threats. It's almost like, you just get used to it. You get used to it and you think, oh, it'll never happen. Why would nobody knows who I am, well, yeah. Let's see. Maybe he did have private security and, but where were they, So, oh yeah, not just this insurance company. That's how insurance company makes their money. We pay, the monthly fee, and then they take it and they invest it. All right. They, buy buildings and do all kinds of things. And then they deny certain claims and they make money. That's just how it is. Again, we could talk about this horrible problem of healthcare in this country all night long. And it is horrible. Oh yeah. Eye drops. Thank you. It is. It's unforgivable. The richest country in the world. And we have people living under a viaduct all over the country that has no health, that have no health insurance. It's not right. It's just not right. So, but again, that doesn't mean you go out and you shoot the CEO of an insurance company. So it's wrong. But this guy is being treated like a hero. And if they catch him and he has a defense fund, I'm telling you, he'll have so much money. Yeah, it is medical care for profit. The healthcare is a for-profit industry, and we could go on and on about how it shouldn't be, but it is. And we've tried, people have tried to change it and haven't had any luck at all. So anyway. You know what? A very striking young man is what I thought he looked like. Features almost like a model. So anyway, yeah. Thank you for reminding me, Cheadle, for the eye drops. I totally would have forgotten. But anyway, I just, I have no problem saying forcefully that murder is wrong. Absolutely. And this was the wrong thing to do. Absolutely. It was horrible. His little kids, they didn't deserve this, It's not a but. It's a, However, I understand the frustration because people have died, because of denied health claims. Now, we don't know what the shooter's story is, but it's interesting that he chose the same words as that book, right? The book, Delay, Deny, Defend. Actually, Delay, Deny, Defend. They didn't have deposed on there. Some people thought it said defend, and others said it said depose. But it's interesting that Delay, Deny, Defend is the name of a book about insurance companies, why insurance companies don't pay claims. So I thought that was interesting. But I've seen both. I've seen the title of the book. People think that's what was on the casings, and others have said it's been deposed. And you're right. Depose has another meaning. It's not like you depose somebody to take down their deposition. You depose of them, you get rid of them. So anyway. You know what? I bet every one of us has more than one horror story about being denied insurance. So, I can't, again, it's a whole other problem. But this isn't the way you solve it. It isn't. It just isn't. It's so wrong. And it makes me very sad to see people celebrate a killing like this. It does. It does. But I have a feeling this person will be caught. We'll find out what happened. And I think if what I feel is correct, I think people have a lot of empathy for him. He made the wrong decision doing this, but he'll probably have a story that will make us probably break our hearts, So, Ms. Mojo Rising, I love that. Mr. Mojo Rising, but you're Ms. Mojo Rising. Yeah, you're right. People are just fed up. That's a great way to put it. We are fed up. No question. No question. So, anyway. Oh, Grandma LM. Yeah, are you in Canada? We are lucky here. Our hospital treats all people regardless if they have insurance or not. A not-for-profit hospital. That's great. That is great. So, anyway. So, well, that's, you know what, MB brings up a great point. For all the denials, there are millions of claims that are approved. That's true. But we've all heard the horror stories, And again, I don't know how we change it. I don't know how we fix it. I mean, I do know how we fix it, but I don't know how we can get people to do it. So it's just very, very frustrating. So anyway, okay. My darling true crime angels, don't forget to check out websleuths.com. All right. And I'll be putting up Megan's link to her YouTube channel and her new YouTube channel, Megan Connor. We'll be putting that up there. And I'll put the links up to the videos that we played tonight here as well. Okay. So Elviva Dejo says UHC denies 30%. I heard it was 31%, like 31.2%, but yeah, 30%. And that is a third of the claims. And the national average, again, I'm regurgitating facts that I heard on the news tonight. And the national average is something like 16%. So anyway, okay. That's it, my darlings. We'll see you tomorrow night. Oh, insightful one. I got to tell you, thank you, Red Like Wine, for reminding me. She's still sick, you guys. She's better. She doesn't have a fever. All right. But I mean, she can't do anything. She, lays in bed and she's resting. She probably won't be back till next week sometime. So she had the hardcore 100% flu. So get your flu shots. Okay. Okay. Anyway, she's going to be okay. I'm worried too, but she's going to be, I'm checking on her nonstop. I'm really annoying the hell out of her. So just so you know. Okay, guys, love you. See you tomorrow night, 10:30 Eastern on Web Sleuths YouTube Live. See you then. Bye-bye.